Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisante. Not a huge news week, but we do have some stuff to cover, and we will start in WWE, where things are getting a bit tricky with this Saudi Arabia show coming up on Saturday. Now, Saudi intelligence has told United States intelligence that they are expecting an imminent attack coming from Iran on targets within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Obviously, as I just mentioned, WWE has a big show there on Saturday, and this can potentially become a dangerous situation. Obviously, a lot of WWE wrestlers are U.S. citizens as well as citizens from other countries who to whom Iran necessarily isn't friendly. Obviously, there's a lot of political stuff here going on. There are a lot of protests and riots going on currently in Iran, and the United States is backing the protesters due to the fact that it is over hijabs and the Iranian, strong-fisted crackdown on how women wear them over there. So it's a very political, a bit of a political tightrope with everything going on, but we'll do our best to stick with the wrestling here, James, because obviously the Saudi contract in general wasn't always a great look for WWE. And now we could potentially be putting these wrestlers in harm's way. And I will mention that a few weeks ago, there was an F1 race in Saudi Arabia. This might have been a few months ago, actually. I don't remember specifically the time, but there were attacks taking place nearby. You could literally see rockets and missiles and their explosions in the background of the race, but the race went off seemingly safe. So again, a bit of a tightrope, but obviously this is quite the concern for WWE as they head over to Saudi Arabia.
This is just a terrible position for the performers and the crew and the talent involved. You know, I've been very vocal about my dissatisfaction with the Saudi deal. This isn't a deal I ever wanted WWE to take part of. I understand it made them a lot of money, and kudos to them, I suppose. But it always felt, especially at the time when it was announced and as the shows were happening, a lot of the, how do I say this politically correct? A lot of the unjust things that were being reported, it felt very morally corrupt. And then if it wasn't the last show they went to, I think it was 2 shows ago when they were in Saudi Arabia, all the trouble they had getting on the plane. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Yeah, supposedly there were issues that they were not being allowed to leave for whatever reason. And to this day, we don't really know the details, and it's very sketchy. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was a harmless thing, and they just, they got stuck, as everybody who's ever flown on a plane knows. Sometimes it happens, and your day gets ruined. But it was very uncomfortable when that happened. And now we have a threat of violence. We have a threat of catastrophe. And I understand that this is a big show for WWE. They've booked some very big matches. They've booked some very high-profile bouts. I understand that. None of that is more important than a single person's well-being. So, maybe these threats were minimal. Maybe they weren't legitimate. Maybe they're all just red flags. But I don't know that I would ever risk it. If I'm one of the performers, I don't think that I would be comfortable going to that job, going to that venue, going to that location. Right,
going to that part of the world.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it very professional wrestling based, but yes. So I do not envy anyone involved, and as much as I don't really feel bad for WWE typically, I want to believe, almost every part of my body is telling me this was a Vince McMahon deal that that current WWE has to deal with. But then I remember that Nick Khan is also probably very involved in most of those decisions anyway. So I don't know. It's scary, you know. I don't want anybody, God forbid, to get hurt, and I hope it does turn out to be a whole lot of nothing. But I hope that if intelligence lets them know that this is a very real threat, that they make the right decision and they don't go.
Yeah, I think that would be probably their last case scenario, because they clearly don't want to cancel this. Like, it's a lot of money, you know. It's a very big show, and they would obviously reschedule it, but you know, it's not something they want to do, because like I just said, it's a lot of money, and they don't want to do that. But you know, if terms dictate, they might have to. Who knows? There's a lot of uncertainty with these threats a lot of times over there. It's not necessarily Iran attacking. It's, you know, sometimes it's Iranian backed terrorist groups or other military organizations who end up you know, perpetrating these attacks. So it's always tough to really truly read the intelligence and then figure out what's going to happen, especially for, you know, a common citizen. So
Sorry.
all good. Well, so we'll see what happens in terms of that. I find it all too coincidental that, not even coincidental, you know, once is coincidence, twice is happenstance, three times is a pattern. And every time they go over there, something seems to happen, whether it's in the middle of some political strife between America and Saudi Arabia, like after the murder of the American journalist perpetrated by the Saudis, and WWE was going there not a week later, to, you know, the stuff with the airplane that you mentioned. So there always seems to be something going on while they're over there, and it's not WWE's fault. It's just, you know, the politics, the surrounding the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I think that publicity hit was something they probably factored in before making this deal. Obviously, I think some of it went maybe a bit beyond what they had originally considered, but I don't think exactly. I don't think there's any way they didn't consider the publicity hit they were going to take versus the financial gain they were going to make. And I did not mean to rhyme there, but it worked. So these are things that are factored in when doing these business decisions. So look, it is what it is, and it's the fact of life over there, where these threats are going to come in, and whatever WWE and perhaps, you know, also too Saudi Arabia decide to do, I just hope everybody is safe. This goes off without a hitch, and everybody gets back safely, because that is obviously the last thing any of us want to see. All right, let's move on to a bit of lighter news topics here. Not an easy transition, but we're going to go from that.
But you handled it well. You handled it well.
But we're going to go from that to just some general CM Punk nonsense. Let us start with the first of many reports that came out about CM Punk over the last week. And Fightful reported that Chris Jericho, I think this was right before the actual fight at All Out took place, after Punk's initial press conference, as they were walking past each other in the hall, Jericho told CM Punk to his face that he was a locker room cancer. Now, obviously, right after that, CM Punk got in a fight with the Elite. They all got suspended, and we haven't seen any of them since. So, I don't know, James. You think Chris Jericho was right?
I think he might be on to something. He just might have an idea. Jericho has done his best to politically navigate this backstage drama and to be a great spokesperson for the company since Brawl Out happened. And, you know, I got to give him credit. He's done a magnificent job, in my opinion. And he just wants to promote AEW as a positive locker room. And he says, like, look, I've been in wrestling for a long time, and I've seen these types of fights happen before. It happens, we move on, everything. So the fact that he could say that and then say what he said to Punk If true, like again, it was reported. Jericho hasn't commented on it. Punk hasn't commented on it. But the fact that he could say, "Yeah, this happens. This just happens in our sport from time to time," but also feel so strongly about Punk, I think that's a big indicator of what Punk can be like. And you got to remember, he didn't just meet Punk here in AEW. He knew him from WWE. They worked together before.
So they had
closely.
A great feud.
So I imagine he knows Punk better than a lot of other people in the company. And yeah, just kind of a shame. Kind of a shame.
Yeah, and I think we have enough evidence to back up that claim that Punk was a cancer to the AEW locker room, and it started almost before he even got there because of all the rumors he was coming and the seeming disappearance of Colt Cabana, whether it was, a coincidence or not, it led to a lot of reports of the locker room being divided over that. And then obviously you have his various beefs with in the locker room, whether it's Hangman and then eventually the Elite, and just there seemed to be so much tension within that locker room that stemmed from CM Punk arriving in AEW that I think it was, I think it's a fair statement. He was cancerous to the locker room.
This is what I'm going to say, and I think it's been quite clear, and we don't got to talk about it. I've generally been pro-Elite in this situation and anti-Punk in this situation. And I still am. Yeah. I still think the Elite kind of got boned here, and Punk was in rare form that night. But
oh yeah.
But the reality is, as far as I'm concerned, this lays squarely at the feet of Tony Khan. You have talent in your locker room that isn't getting along, you figure out a way to get it for everyone to coexist. Not everyone needs to be best friends in a locker room. Doesn't matter the sport, doesn't matter the job. You don't need to be best friends with your coworkers. You need to be able to get along with one another enough to get the job done without ruining the work environment. And Tony Khan couldn't get that to happen. He didn't delegate if he did delegate people to do it, he didn't delegate the right people to do it. And if he didn't delegate people to do it, this failure is even more on him.
I was gonna say I've more than said my piece on what I thought Tony Khan should have done in that situation and how he failed. So I 100% agree with you there.
What's crazy is I genuinely believe his failure happened way before All Out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
His failure started truly when he was asked by that reporter about Colt Cabana not showing up and is it related to Punk. All he needed to say was, I've chosen to reassign Colt Cabana to Ring of Honor, and when the time comes, he will be on TV again or he will be used again. That's all he needed to say. Instead, the man said no comment and added so much fuel to the fire that if Punk didn't directly ask for it, it still happened because of Punk. So there were so many opportunities for this to have been righted along the way, and it just never was. And, I hate comparing anything to cancer. But if we are going to compare something to a cancer starts off like this, and then it grows. It expands, it multiplies, it multiplies, and multiplies. And there was every opportunity in the world to stop this before it got bigger.
Yeah, exactly. There were multiple points. Starting with that one, you could have said something after, the Hangman thing when Punk allegedly got pissed off. You could have said something when Punk called him out, when he came back. There were multiple opportunities to stop it, and it ended up leading to a ridiculous and stupid press conference and ridiculous and stupid fight.
I'm fascinated to see what happens at Full Gear. I wonder if they're going to do a scrum.
Ooh, that is a good question. I will say that if they do, I'm sure Tony Khan is going to run a very tight ship.
Yep.
Anybody goes even remotely close to off script, or whatever, the outline is, so to speak, he's going to shut that shit down quick.
I would. I don't even know. I genuinely don't know if I could handle it. Like, on one hand, you should do it to show, look, this was an isolated incident and it'll never happen again. And we like doing this aspect of the job. But on the other hand, I don't know if I have the energy to keep up with it.
Well, he does do all the cocaine and you only pretend to. So allegedly. Speaking of the aforementioned fight, we did get a little bit more news out of that, although the reports have been conflicting. And it all kind of just centers around Larry the dog for some odd reason.
The true star of this story.
So Nick Hausman, right? Is Nick, I believe?
Yes, Nick Hausman.
Thank you. He apparently has a direct line to CM Punk now, or so it seems, after they've commiserated over their apparent dislike of one Colt Cabana. But it was Hausman who reported that Larry had some teeth removed a few weeks after All Out because he had allegedly been hit with the door that the Bucks did not kick in. So this is a bit strange. I would think if the dog was actually hurt, they probably would have noticed. And also, apparently, this was a pre-scheduled appointment that CM Punk was taking Larry to anyway. And knowing Larry's teeth and having many a dog, they were probably going to get pulled anyway. And it was very, very carefully written by Hausman to say, like, oh, it was probably the door, but maybe not. He covered his ass. Big Daddy Dave Meltzer has disputed all of this, saying that it's pretty ridiculous that this didn't surface immediately and only came up 7 to 8 weeks later. So cool. Now we have even more nonsense and we're getting Larry involved. I thought we already established that Kenny Omega saved Larry and everything was fine. What is going on here? Is this just Punk's covering his ass again, and trying to throw more dirt onto the Elite, or like?
I don't
know.
I'm so hesitant. Like, as mad as I am about the Punk situation, I am hesitant to blame Punk for anything that gets reported, because I don't know what's directly being said. I don't know what's being misconstrued, and I don't know what's just being straight up lied about for coverage. Like Meltzer himself said it best. He's been covering the story for like 7 weeks, and he's been investigating, and he's been talking to people, and he's been hearing things. And not once until this last week, after it became clear the Elite was coming back, did this story about the dog come out. We had all heard the same thing, that Kenny tried to protect the dog, handed the dog off to somebody else.
And granted, I do believe that came from a pro Elite source.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm not taking anything for
at face value.
Yes, yes, thank you. I could say I've heard a bunch of stories. I've heard certain things corroborated. I've heard certain things debunked, and I've heard enough sources say certain details that I'm more inclined to believe those details. But again, I wasn't there. I don't know. I don't know. So I find it odd that all of a sudden, after the Punk camp denied, that they went back on, the Bucks didn't kick the door down. And then with like days before, it was reported that Punk didn't even know what was going on with Larry. And then to find out, he knew, he got mad, and that's why he even started the fight, was because Larry got his teeth kicked. Those two stories directly go against one another. So, and all of these are coming from reputable writers, reputable sources, maybe some more reputable than others, but it's why I can't just buy everything that's being said, because we're hearing so many conflicting things. And look, at the end of the day, I really hope nothing happened to the dog. I hope what happened, I hope him getting teeth removed was procedural and it needed to be done for whatever reason. But like, come on, like it's starting to get ridiculous. Like it's starting to get ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it's fairly telling that for Meltzer and his sources, they've been fairly consistent since all of this has started and the reporting has taken place. There hasn't been much of a change in the story from the elite side. They've been very consistent. Everything, like I said, that Meltzer gets from his non-elite sources also has seemed to be fairly consistent. And, the Punk stuff seems to change depending on, depending on the wind at this point. No Chicago Windy City pun intended, but like, which was honestly kind of a force in general, but but like, I think you're right. I think as the elite are being teased to come back, we're seeing these vignettes on Dynamite the last few weeks, and as it seems this investigation has ended. And whether or not we ever see a report on it is who knows. I absolutely doubt it. But as it seems to have ended, and it seems that CM Punk seems to be leaving, allegedly. He obviously has to heal his arm, so who knows what's going to happen.
And his ego.
Yeah, but I mean, like just like physically, he's not even going to be able to wrestle for a long time. So by the time he is able to come back, who knows where he's going to stand? But it just seems. It seems like the timing is a bit too coincidental that these types of stories that are negatively against the Bucks are coming out now. It's too odd. And also, too, speaking to what you said before about the mixed reporting with Punk, the reporting on his future has also been very mixed. We once again go to our friend Nick Hausman, who's saying that he has sources within CM Punk's camp that say Punk probably wants to go back to Hollywood and return to acting. We also have Sean Ross Sapp on the other side saying that he has Punk sources within Punk's camp that Punk still has the wrestling itch. So we don't even know what's going to happen with him in the ring. He could, eventually come back, whether that's AEW, which seems doubtful at the moment, or a return to WWE, which is very intriguing, but obviously either way those
feels icky. It feels icky.
And obviously, like I just said before, those are either of them are a long time off, or he goes back into Hollywood. Obviously, he's been doing some movies. He's been appearing in Stephen Amell's show Heels. I believe that's on Stars. So he does have options here.
No, absolutely. Look, I want Punk to end his career on his terms. It was nobody was thrilled with how he left WWE years ago. We didn't want that to be the last we saw of CM Punk. It just felt wrong. And that's why it felt so beautiful when Punk came to AEW, because it was him being able to write his own story, him being able to sail off into the sunset or ride off into the sunset. And again, here we are. Now, granted, this feels way more his fault than the first one did, but I still don't want that to be his legacy. Punk meant so much to so many fans. He means so much to so many fans. This was a guy who for 7-8 years, his name would be chanted in arenas that had nothing to do with him. If fans had displeasure with WWE, he was their chant to let them know we don't want this again. And now, if there are fans that are chanting CM Punk's name in an AEW arena, they're getting booed by the AEW faithful. That sucks. No matter how I might feel about Punk right now, that sucks. And I would want a better ending for Phil Brooks in wrestling. So I hope he comes back, preferably, honestly, to AEW. Because I think there's an immense amount of money on the table for a Kenny Omega CM Punk match. I think that is an instant. If you announce that match on pay-per-view, I think that's an instant sellout. Instant. So financially, I would love for him to go back to AEW. And even just morally, I would like to see wrongs righted, and I would like to see beef squashed.
Yeah,
But
there would have to be a lot of mending of fences there, to use another phrase.
But hey, this is the man who idolizes Bret Hart, and in the immortal words of Bret Hart, "Fuck Goldberg," right?
Yeah, that's also true. But I think Bret also saw the money in working with certain people, i.e., Shawn Michaels. So it's tricky. Like you were saying, Punk was what we used to voice our displeasure at WWE for years. And here comes this company, and it's everything Punk could have ever dreamed of in a wrestling company. It's an actual wrestling company. It's not a sports entertainment company. And people are just overjoyed to see him in this environment. And it's like, it's somewhere between, it's Ring of Honor on the level of WWE in terms of production and money going into it and everything. And it just seems like the perfect scenario for him. And he comes in and drops a nuke into it. And it was of his own design. Like, I don't know the attitude he came in with. It seemed very positive, and it seemed to turn sour very quickly. And I don't know why. Obviously, we're not there, and we're not as connected as people like SRS and Uncle Dave. But we can see what's happening, and things very quickly soured. And now we are left to pick up the pieces. And what CM Punk is left to pick up, he's honestly, because he's out, he's probably going to have to end up picking up some scraps. And what those could be, whether it's a return to AEW, whether it's a return to WWE, whether it's he just go dicks around on the indies for a while, who knows? Or he goes back into acting. Either way, I think that's what's going to end up happening first, though, because he's hurt. I think he's going to end up doing some more acting while, he's healed but not healthy enough to perhaps get back in a ring. And then when he's able to get back in the ring and is able to get clear, then perhaps we see some movement on that. But I think that was a 9 months injury when it happened. It's only been 2 months, so I'll see you in freaking June. All right, let's move on here to some news that came out on Wednesday, which was that during the financial call for WWE for the Q3 financial call, they reported that the investigation into Vince McMahon's dealings in terms of all the sexual impropriety and payoffs that took place during his tenure was finished. And WWE said it cost $19.4 million for the special investigation team to complete this. That, again, according to their earnings call. That's a lot of money. Also, not to mention, according to a recent SEC filing, Vince, quote, can effectively exercise control over our affairs, unquote. Now, I imagine that has to do with the fact that he still owns like all of the stock in WWE. And sources from every which way are saying that's not going to happen. He's out here. It's over. But I think, James, the bigger thing here is they have finished this investigation. They spent almost as much money on it that Vince spent paying people off, but it's done. And I think this, for now, ends the Vince McMahon saga.
$19 million.
0.4.
That is money that certain people will never see in their lifetime. And for him, it was a legal matter.
That he didn't pay for. His company was paying for it.
Oh, God.
I'm pretty sure that's like just under the yearly max salary in the NBA.
It should be noted, the WWE sources that were contacted, or not the WWE sources, the WWE employees or whoever that were contacted about this have said that there is no possibility Vince is coming back. Don't expect him to come back. And I actually do believe that. I think it's going to bring, because the bigger thing here isn't the legal issues, it's the sponsors. And if fans start to revolt against Vince, the sponsors are going to get scared, and then WWE's in trouble. And I think Vince would rather see this company be successful than him coming back and bringing it down. I'm very done with ever talking about Vince McMahon's sexual exploits. I never want to think about it again. And I'm very much looking forward to this new era of WWE under this new regime. And, they're not getting everything right, but it feels better. And it feels way more consistent. And Jesus, Vince, you're a billionaire, man. You could have
still.
I think he has to be, but he could have. Because WWE stock just hit at least a year high.
Yeah, no, it's up.
He could have pulled anywhere. What is wrong with this man? I mean, that's a loaded question. But
wait, we saw him try. Trish Stratus gets shutting him down.
That's not better. It's not better. Nick, it's not better.
I know it's not better.
Oh, God. Yeah, just...
I slipped that joke in somewhere.
Go into your mansion, old man, and ride and just wait it out. In more ways than one. Just wait it out.
Yeah, look, I think everybody can pretty much agree that with Vince gone, WWE has gotten a true shot in the arm. I think creatively, Triple H has been doing a very good job. At least he's giving us a much more interesting product, and I think I would say more entertaining too. He's bringing back a lot of things the fans liked that Vince had gotten rid of. I think Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon are doing a good job in their roles. I know we don't see them day to day, but like you said, the stock price is really high right now. And I think some of that has to do with how the product is looking. And I think some of that has to do with what Khan and Steph are doing. So, it seems like the right people are currently steering the ship. And yeah, I don't think anybody wants Vince back at the moment. I think throwing Vince back into this environment would be really, really bad.
I agree.
It almost reminds me of in Wrestling Isn't Wrestling when Shawn Michaels comes back and just throws a wrench into everything. Oh my God, Triple H, haven't seen you so long. Oh my God. And then Triple H just starts killing him. That's what Vince would be like. He'd be like, no, leave. I have better people surrounding me now. I'm not letting you take the top from me. Go away. And then Nick Khan wins, the Royal Rumble and get faces for the title. And there you go. But yeah, seriously, Vince staying away right now is in, I think, everybody's best interest. Not just the wrestling part, but the business and keeping the sponsors happy, because I have to imagine they're thrilled right now. So, like James said, stay home, Vince. You could go out in public and be seen at restaurants, whatever. You already have been for your birthday. But, you're also rich enough to just have the restaurants come to you. So enjoy your, multi-million-dollar mansion. And stay out of our wrestling, please. I think we'd appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, let's cover one more thing before we go. And it is one of the good things from the aforementioned wrestling. It is probably the best thing in wrestling going right now. And if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Because if you haven't seen it, that isn't very Ucey. And I gave it away. Sami Zayn right now, James, is the best thing in wrestling right now. And their promo from SmackDown last week, where the aforementioned that isn't very Ucey joke was made, and the entirety of the bloodline broke character. He's just at a different level right now. There have been reports that this was only supposed to be like a 3-4 week thing, and Kevin Owens was going to get involved, and it's just been going so well, and the fans are reacting to it so much that this is going to go indefinitely until, it loses steam and Owens eventually does come in. But this is great. And I think everything that's happening between him Roman and Jimmy and him and Jimmy have been unbelievable, and so probably some of the best character work at Roman and the Bloodline have had since, I think, did I say Jimmy? I meant Jay. Since Jay and Roman first started feuding back when Roman first won the title.
I agree. I think there is just so much life that was injected into this storyline, into this group, into everybody involved, new dynamics at play, new emotions, new interactions, new everything, new relationships,
new shirts,
many of them. And more than anything, I'm happy for Sami Zayn. He is a talent that, due to injury, due to whatever, he got a lot of stop and go on the main roster, and it really affected him, and it really affected what he was able to do. And, for a while, he was just a manager. We saw that. He was managing either Shinsuke Nakamura or Cesaro, and I think maybe one other person. I don't even remember. But it was sad. And, we accepted it. If he's hurt, he's hurt. But then we started to see him wrestling a little bit more and getting back into it, and that was great. And then he was still doing the comedy stuff. And when he started with the Bloodline, we all thought it was going to be a quick thing. It was just going to be a minor nuisance or a little TV thing. But because of how good he is, it's still going because we're all eating it up. It is the best part. Arguably, it is the best part of SmackDown every week. Maybe you can make an argument for the Bray Wyatt stuff, which is totally fair. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm loving this Bloodline stuff. I said it to you before. It feels so much like a modern Rock and Sock connection where you have this serious main event player in The Rock, or in this case, Roman, dealing with the goofier clown character who legit just wants to be accepted as a friend to the main event talent. In this case, before it was Mankind, Mick Foley. Now it's Sami. And I don't think we're going to get Sami Zayn in the Mick Foley role, where, if we remember, Mankind, Mick Foley had an epic partnership, whatever, with The Rock. And Mick Foley won, I think, 2 of his WWE titles off of The Rock.
Yep. First one with the greatest pop ever.
Yep.
Put butts in seats.
It did put butts in seats. Thank you, Tony Schiavone. And the other, I think, was Halftime Heat.
Yeah. I also did one of the other greatest pops between Foley and The Rock was, I think Foley was either the GM or whatever authority role he was
Commissioner.
Yeah. And they were having the interaction where he asked The Rock what he thought. And The Rock was about to speak, and he goes, "It doesn't matter what you think. I got him." And he's running around the ring.
Foley. It's great stuff. It was great stuff then, and it's great now. And, Sammy's admitted, he every once in a while, once or twice, he's gone out of his way to try to make everyone break.
I think the Ucey thing was one of them.
Yeah, I agree. And it worked beautifully. And it's a moment that, 1, it's fun as a fan to see. And 2, it serves the story well to show him being the court jester to Roman's king. And Roman loves this guy. Roman thinks he's hilarious. He's seen Sammy's devotion to him. And he just makes Roman happy. And it's a fascinating dynamic. There is a part of me that legitimately wants to see Sami take the title off Roman. Legitimately, I want to see it. And I think they've told an incredible story to make that happen. I don't think we're going to get that. I'm bracing myself that more than likely it's going to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens taking the tag titles off of Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, which will be fine.
It's still great.
It is.
We wanted to see them be tag champs since they've gotten to WWE. So
exactly. So there's so many, and that's the beauty of it. Long shot, Sami Zayn takes the title off Roman Reigns. Probably they take the tag titles off the Usos, but you know what? There's a lot of possibilities in between, and there's a lot of possibilities for fun, and we still have a way to go. So I'm very, 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 very happy with this story, and God, man, I was saying the whole Rock McFoley connection. Owens is totally the Austin here. Oh man,
he even uses the stunner.
He even uses the stunner. But oh god, this isn't an instance of let's copy something that worked in the past. This is just an instance of, the dynamics are there, the talent is there, and there's a similarity because of how good and committed everyone is to making this good. And I cannot wait to see what happens next.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a copy and paste. It's just, it's a lot of similarities in what's going on, but
a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. And it also just so happens that the main, big main eventer is a big Samoan guy, which also works out. I do love though from the Ucey promo, everyone broke that thing down like it was the Zapruder film. It's like, okay, you can see right here where Roman starts to break, and then he's like trying not to, but he was like, screw it, I can laugh anyway because it's my character. I think Sammy's funny. Jimmy's in the back just doing this because he knows what's coming. I guess Sami either told him, he's like, I'm going to break everybody, watch, or he just figured Sami was going to say something hilarious. Solo's just trying to be the stoic guy, can't do it. Heyman's in the back losing it. And Jay's just standing there like, fuck, I can't laugh. Fuck, no. Starts to turn around, and Roman calls him out on it. It is amazing. And then also too, later that night they did an online backstage thing. It's all of them without Roman and Paul, and Sami is like, you know what, guys, look, it's been a very tense night, tensions are running high, why don't we go to Waffle House? My treat, we'll go. And Jay breaks character and goes, oh shit, oh yeah, we'll definitely go to Waffle House. And like everything's fine because Sami was like, yeah, we'll buy you guys Waffle House, it'll be great. He is perfect with them, and he's also just allowing for tension to rebuild between Jay and Roman because, like I said before, this all started with Roman literally beating Jay into submission, and that's starting to bubble up again because, Jay had to fall in line after getting the shit kicked out of him, and Sami just kind of laughed his way into being there. Now, granted, he has proved himself on multiple occasions, but you can just see the obvious, dynamic between Roman and Sami, and how Roman seems to like Sami more than he likes Jay.
And admittedly, there's a difference too that it's like you said, Jay was beat into this. Sami wanted this.
Yeah, he wants it.
Sami wanted. Jimmy didn't want it in the beginning. Like he was like he had that shirt, no one's bitch or nobody's bitch. Solo kind of got sent into it. Paul Heyman's even said, like he was my salvation after Brock Lesnar dropped me. Sami Zayn is legitimately the only person who actively wanted to be a part of this.
Yeah, and Jimmy, to a lesser extent, kind of got beat into it too. Like he came back hurt, no, but like he came back and he was, just coming. He was still hurt, and Roman threatened to, end his career to beat Jay. So, like, he was kind of Stockholm syndrome into it too, like to a much lesser extent than Jay ever was. But
my headcanon is essentially the DUI happened, Roman paid bail, and Jimmy was like, I got to be a part of this now. Like, I owe him. He kept me out of jail.
Yeah, it was very obvious that Jimmy was a lot more willing to join the bloodline than Jay was. And then I think eventually they won the titles and Jay fell in line. But you're right, yeah. Sammy's the only person who wants to be in this, and every crumb that Roman throws him is worth its weight in gold.
Yep.
Sami. So him becoming an honorary Uce was the greatest thing that could ever happen to Sami. And Jay standing there seeing this adulation in his face, and whereas Roman is almost nothing but negative to him unless he wins, and now Roman's threatening to make him a full-blown Uso. And Jay's, again, just standing there being like, you don't give me the time of day in terms of positive reinforcement. So, like I said, it's the best thing going, not just because of how absolutely phenomenally funny Sami Zayn has been, but we've just spent 10 minutes just discussing this, and we could probably go for another 10 minutes, but we do need to end because we have to end somewhere. So I would like to thank everybody so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We have new videos coming out every week. We cover Monday Night Raw. We do lives for that, and Wednesday Night Dynamite as well. James, in a couple of weeks, will be restarting his Impact reviews on Thursday. I know there are dozens and dozens of you out there who love Impact, so be sure to watch that. Be sure to check out all our social media stuff too. It'll be in the description below: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and yes, I finally got that TikTok link from Danny, so that'll be down there as well. And there's actually some decent content on there, so you should go check it out. So yes, once again, thank you everybody so much for watching. So for James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings, and we will catch you here next time on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.